Good morning, Matt here, Get Solvent, and welcome to Restart Saturday at 9. Unscripted, I was in Australia last week, so we had a week off, but now we're back. We're back, and like I say, unscripted, we're live. I'm going to go through the same thing. We'll walk through an account setup, and I'm basically going to keep doing the same things each week until somebody rocks up and tells me to do something different. So that's pretty much it. So this is Solvent, Restart Saturday at 9. Why Restart Saturday at 9 is because, many years ago, somebody said to me, Restart Saturday at 9. I was suffering from a lot of paranoia at the time, and I thought it was all about endings. For a long time, I thought everything was going to reset and it was going to come to an end at 9 o'clock on Saturday night. And for 6 months, I lived in this paranoid state where I was uncertain of what was going on. Couldn't distinguish between reality and fantasy. And this was the state that I was in. At the end of 6 months, I was running away to New Zealand. And I came to on the morning that I was due to go and get the plane. I came to, it was Saturday morning. I put the key on the table. I went to leave the house and I looked at my clock and it was 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. In that moment, Restart Saturday at 9 became about creation and not destruction. It became about beginnings instead of endings. And I set off to go onto my new journey. And Restart Saturday at 9 became a point in time where I could check in. Look at the strategy. Where am I going? What direction am I heading in? What's it all about? Am I still on track? Am I doing the things? And, moving to a new country is quite difficult. You've got to have visas and you've got immigration to deal with and all of that stuff that goes on. And, there's a lot of uncertainty. And Restart Saturday at 9 became a bit of an anchor for me. It was a point, like I said, it was a point in time where I could actually pause, have a look at what was going on and restart. Nothing was ending. We were all about new beginnings. Let's have another go. So that's why Restart Saturday at 9, and it's that looking to create a point in time, community. I'm going to be here Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. If anybody's got any problems with the system, I'd love you to come along live, ask me a question. Let's make this space whatever it needs to be. To keep each other accountable, because I don't have all the answers. All I am is a guy who built a product for himself and showed a few people, and they said, and it made a difference to their lives as well. So that's what we're looking to do here. We're looking to change behavior one day at a time. If you're here, that's probably what you're wanting to do. You're in a financial hole. Are you looking to manage your time better? Or, there's tools that are missing in the business. And I use this tool in my business every day, and it's, I use it every day and it keeps getting developed. And developing it for me is something comes up and I need that. All right, well, let's add that. Does it make sense to go to Solvent? Yeah. Okay. Is it more sense to be in Eli? Yeah. Okay. So Eli, we've just put our health and safety, health data in there. So the health data, I'm starting a new gut cleanse. Accountability, Eli's my accountability coach, and I've loaded the program up. Eli will keep me accountable every day. He knows what to expect, and that's the same thing with Solvent. Solvent came about quite accidentally. I was, 19 years in recovery. I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. I'm 19 years now. I was 15 years when this whole thing started. But 15 years into recovery and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I'd learned that, I hadn't got the hang of the money. The 12-step part was sorted, but I'd come to learn that the best way for me to change my behavior was to work the steps, so I worked the steps around money. I did 1 through 9. Everything was good, but the maintenance steps required me to keep the numbers. I had to check in. I had to make sure that, I had to be aware of what was going on. I had 3 different accounts that were across. I was managing them with spreadsheets and I couldn't keep up to date. I couldn't see where the money was going. And it was a problem at that point. I drifted away from the program. Things happened. A couple of years later, my son comes over and he starts work and he needs a timer. He's going out and he's doing his jobs and he's supposed to be keeping his timesheet. And at the end of the week, because he was a temp, everybody would, the pay lady would be chasing him around saying, "Where's your timesheet?" And he never had one. And what we learned was he needed a little timer that could sit on his phone. He could click start, he could click stop at the end of the day, and then at the end of the week he could click generate timesheet. And that's what he needed. And I built out this little app for him. He put it on his phone and he was using it. I'm seeing what was coming through, watching the data. I thought, wouldn't this be great if I could link this to my clients? If I could sit down to do a piece of work for a client, I could link it to a project and I could create a timesheet. Then at the end of the month, I can send all those timesheets off for invoicing, or I could invoice directly right there and then. And so I built out that timer. I built a more advanced timer for the freelancer level. And then I started to think about, well, if I'm doing the time, then what about the money? And then I remembered the problems that I'd had back when I was trying to work the 12 steps around my money and the difficulty I'd had tracking them. And that's how Solvent was born. I built it out from there. I did the finances, did my transactions. And what happens now is Solvent helps me to be able to change my behavior. It's the maintenance, it's the ongoing awareness of what's going on. Awareness creates choice, shame and guilt don't. There's nothing worse than than feeling that I want to have something. And, I'll go and I'll get the padlocks. It's like, I want to do that. And I feel like I need this subscription and I've got to have that. And my head will tell me that that's the thing that's going to make the difference. Oh, if only I could have that. So what I needed to do was I needed to have a system that had no limits, that met me where I was, that allowed me to do the things that I needed to do, but only the things that I needed to do. It had to be simple. It had to be contained in this space. And then as I grow, the system can grow with me. And that's the idea of Solvent. So they're always free. You don't need a credit card. Your data is always free. Your data is safe. It's encrypted at database level. There's a thing on the page, go to Get Solvent Online/security. You'll see on there what your data looks like in the system. That's my account. And doing the encryption, I hadn't unencrypted one line. When it fails loudly. You can see it. Put the encryption key on that. It now works fine. But what it did was it gave me an opportunity to be able to show you what your data looks like. Your data is perfectly safe. Nothing of value is in our database. Without the encryption key, nothing can happen. So that's where Solvent, why it was born. Yeah, it was born because I needed it. I was drowning. I was in a hole. I needed to better manage my time. I needed to better manage my money. I needed to create this awareness. Yeah. So obviously what happens, and like I say, I'm not a guru. I haven't got all the answers here. This is just my experience and what I've learned over the years. And what I've learned is that, I can change my behavior in the present moment. I can't do anything about what's happened and I can't do anything about what's going to come. But I can change what I do now, which will influence what's going to come further down the line. Yeah. So the idea is I want to change my behavior on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. So while Restart Saturday at 9 is the strategic overview, that's the point in time where I can look at where am I going, what is coming down the line, and then Solvent is about the daily discipline that will keep me moving towards that goal. Okay, so it's nice and simple. So what I'm doing in Solvent every morning is I log in, I look at my accounts, and I look at the number that's on each account. I got like 6 or 7 accounts on my Solvent screen, and I look at the account and I look at the bank. Does that number match that number? If it does, then my job's done. If it doesn't, I go into the bank, I find out where my transaction is, and I add my transaction into Solvent. This is the pause. This is the moment of awareness of what's gone out of my account. I know exactly how much money I've got in my account, and I know exactly what's gone out. If that number is different to that number, I match it up by adding the transactions. As soon as those account numbers match, then my job is done for the day. It takes me 3 minutes every day, every morning, to log in, look at the number, match the things up, because I've got on time and I'm doing this every day. And because I do it every day, it doesn't take long. I was away for 10 days. I had 10 days of not doing this in Australia. And I came back and I spent an hour. And I spent an hour going through all of my accounts, entering the transactions manually. So I knew exactly what I'd spent when I was on holiday. It's not the ideal plan. You know, if I had all the answers, then I would have had a spending plan to go away with, and I would have stuck to that spending plan. I'd have only been spending money, and I'd have been using Pocket on my phone. We have a little pocket book. You take your phone out at the moment of time. The bill comes in before you swipe the EFTPOS card, get the phone out, put that transaction into the Pocket app, give it a category. Takes less than 10 seconds. Enter that. My accounts are now up to date. You know, it goes insolvent before it goes into the bank. And that's how we create this moment of awareness. It's the moment of awareness that allows me to be able to change my behavior, change my relationship with money one day at a time. You know, and that's what I had to do. You know, I have to learn how to develop a healthy relationship with money, because I want to overindulge. You know, I want all of those things. It's like I see something bright and shiny. It's like I'm attracted to that. I want that, and I want it now. You know, and all of that stuff goes on for me. And the problem with that is there's no control. I have no idea of what, you know, and it's like something will happen, and it's like, oh well, I've got it. The rent's coming out tomorrow, and you know, so my rent payment's coming out tomorrow. But if I see something that I want the day before, it's easy for me to just go and spend that money, and then my rent payment doesn't get made, and then I end up in a hole, you know, and things just compound from there. It gets worse and worse, because I miss the rent payment, then I miss the power payment, and I miss the power payment, then I miss the phone payment, and everything just compounds on top of itself. So I need to set systems in place that can help me succeed, and this is how I do it, you know. But it's also got to be simple. It's got to be simple, because if it's overcomplicated, then I'm going to get bored and I'm not going to do it. My mind won't allow me. I'll start off with the hiss and the roar and everything's great. It's like, yes, this matters. You know, I'm going to do this, and I can do it for so long, but I have a lack of power. You know, it's like I can't continue. I can't. Willpower by itself is not enough for me, because I'll forget. I'll forget how bad things get. I'll forget how, you know, or I'll justify it, and I'll make it so that actually that's okay. You know, and I abnormalize the normal. I normalize the abnormal. And these are the things, these are the defaults that go on in my mind that I need to put systems in place to help me against. And that's what Solvent's about. You know, as something comes up, if there's a way that Solvent can help me to do that, or Eli, then I'll make sure that that system adapts to fit what it is that I need. And that's where we're growing. So, has to be simple. What that means is I can't do anything about what's happened in the past. You know, it's like it's happened, it's been, it's gone. But what I can do is I can look back and learn from it. I can learn what my patterns are. I can see cycles, you know, that come back and repeat themselves. I can look at payments and see what's going on. So with that in mind, I need to be able to get those into Solvent. Now, I don't want to sit in Solvent and have to go enter transaction and do that for 6 months worth of transactions. You know, I've got to get information into the system quickly. So we need to do that. You know, it's like 6 months, 12 months, whatever the number is, however many transactions you want in that system, we've got to be able to get it in quickly, so that we've got the patterns in there and we can learn from them, and we can see, we can filter, and then we've got the information in the system. If we put it in up to today, we import the CSV file, and then from today, now, if at that point I start tracking my transactions daily, then this becomes very easy. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything about it. I can just go one day at a time. I just have to keep going. And sorry, I've lost my trail of thought here. I've got a phone call coming in. But I keep my transactions daily, and that keeps my account in sync. I don't have to ever worry about doing another import. So the goal of Solvent is one import per one account, and then update daily. Keep my transactions every day, log into Solvent, check my account. Is that number the same as that number? Yes, job done. No, let's take the transactions out of here and add them into Solvent. And I'm going to show you how to do that. You know, so today, what we'll do is we will go through the sign up process. You know, I'm going to go to Solvent, I'm going to sign up. You're going to see that you don't need a credit card. You're going to see the onboarding. You're going to go into the free account. You're not going to see a single padlock. You're not going to see limits. You're not going to see, you know, we meet you where you are, you know, so whatever it is that you need. Now, the always free plan is for people looking to get a grasp of money. Yeah. Now, if money's your problem, I promise you, I will not ask you for your credit card. Yeah, because Solvent will always be free. There's a free layer there. It's going to give you everything that you need, and I'll show you the free plan right now. It's going to give you everything that you need to be able to get out of that hole. As you grow and when you get ready, you know, it's like somebody that's got financial dire straits and everything's going on. You don't want to be thinking about retirement. You don't want to be thinking about goals and all of this different types of stuff. Yeah, we're going to give you a goal account, you know, so that you can have something to focus on, and as a reward. It's important to have one, but we don't want to clutter it. Yeah. So, and on the free plan, you get one integrated goals account. The reason for that, you don't need any more. You know, if you need more than one goal account, then you need to upgrade your plan, because at that point you've got different goals. You're in a different space. Your focus is different. You need different tools. You need a retirement calculator. You need to be looking at investments so that you can learn what's going on and how to invest. You might need an accountability coach, you know, so that type of stuff comes later on, you know. But when money is the problem, when it's trying to dig your way out of a hole, because this is where you're at, you know, you want to know about your transactions, you want to know about your debts, you want to know about any savings that you've got, but that's pretty much all you can think about. So we'll meet you there. Hello, we're here, always free. That's where you're at. I'm going to show you, you know. You might need to look at some basic time management, like Leon needed his timesheet. So there's a basic tracker there. You know, your timer is in there to use. Time blocks are in there to get your time. So I want to show you right now the free plan. I'll walk you through it, and I'm going to spend some time and take my time with the import part, because this is the question that people ask more than anything. This is the bit that people struggle about. How do I get the information from the bank to the system if you're not going to integrate with the bank? Well, we'll never integrate with the bank. The reason that we're not going to integrate with the bank is if we do, everything happens in the background. You know, I have no idea. All I get at the end of the day is a number and a pretty graph. And it's normally, the graph is normally doing that, you know, but I get one number and this little pretty graph that says that's what's happened. That doesn't do anything about me. How do I know what to change in that situation if everything's happened in the background behind the screen? You know, how do I know what to tweak? How do I know where my behavior can change? So that's what it's about. So today we're going to get the information into the system. That's all I'm going to do. You know, we're going to sign up. I'm going to show you the dashboard. We're going to import a CSV file, right? And I'm going to leave it there today. You know, then when we come next time, we can come next time and we can do spending plans. I'm going to break it down into more concentrated, and I'm going to take my time with it. I'm going to try and slow my speaking down because I'm aware that I speak very quickly. And I'm going to take a breath. You know, I'm going to breathe. You know, so at this moment in time, what we'll do now is I'm going to take you to Solvent. Okay. We'll just add this to the stage here. Right. Okay. So my camera's here. Yeah, that's my camera. I'm trying to look at you, but I've got my screens here. So we're going to navigate this as best as we can. But I promise I'm talking to you. Right. So Solvent. You know, you think about money constantly, but never feel on top of it. You know, I remember saying when I was first sobering up, you know, I used to say to my sponsor, you know, I just can't get ahead with money. You know, and I was telling that same story for the first 15 years of my first 19 years of my recovery, because, you know, it's just last year that things have started to come together and I've started to build out this system. But yeah, but what's brought you here today? You know, this is going to put you, it's going to help you, the system know where you're at. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm drowning in debt. Okay, so we've got this always free button. Okay, we're going to click always free, and we're going to register an account. Oh, wrong way around. Try name first, Matt. Wow. I think I just need to breathe, don't I, really? Okay. Yeah, we don't need to save that. So now we're going to create the account. We're going to go through an onboarding wizard. It's going to set things up for us. Okay. What should we call you? This was Mark, wasn't it? All right. We wanted to break the debt cycle. Okay. Right, little known bug here. I need to get onto this. If I go monthly and then I go fortnight, I change my mind and I go fortnightly and I go to continue. Oh, it does work. Maybe I did fix it. Okay. Sometimes you get an application error at that point. If you change your mind, the system gets a bit confused and an application error comes up. If that happens, just refresh the page, pick one and move on and it'll work. Okay, so Solvent works differently because most money apps try to automate awareness. Automate awareness away. We're the other way. Awareness creates choice. If I know what's going on, I can do something about it. That's what they take away. Every transaction you enter is a moment of intention, not a chore. Okay, so away we go. Let's see. There's YouTube video here. You can get in touch with us here. At any point, you can always come up here to need support. You can give me feedback if something goes wrong with the system. If you need support, you can come on there and it'll go through and it'll tell you what's going on. So this is the Solvent dashboard. Okay, everything comes from the accounts. So on the free plan, 10 accounts. I had 3, and I was struggling to manage 3, but I didn't have all of my debt accounts and things like that on there as well. So in order to be able to make this valuable, there's 10 accounts. Okay, so you can set on the free plan, we can set you up to 10 accounts. Okay, and you can have 1,000 transactions. I was doing 300 to 400 transactions a month, so we set the limit at 1,000. Okay, if you hit a ceiling on 1,000 transactions, then talk to me and we'll see what happens. Because I don't want this tool needs to help you to be able to solve your problem. If money is your problem, then everything that you need is here and you shouldn't hit a limit to do that. All right, so all we're going to do is we're going to add accounts. Now, these are virtual accounts, so it doesn't matter what happens, You could have 3, 4 different accounts on here that relate to one account in your bank, and you add those numbers together. And if those 4 numbers match that number in there, that's great. But each one in here can have a different purpose. So this is like a personal account. Yeah. And you call it whatever you want. It's personal, it's check-in, who's the bank with, it doesn't matter. That's really irrelevant. We're not going to add a balance on here at this moment in time. We're just going to add the account. Because we're going to run an import that's going to sort that balance out. Okay, so now I've got a personal account. And this is the thing that I'm checking every day. Does this number match the number that's in my account? If it does, my job's done. If it doesn't, I'm coming in here. I go transactions. I go add a transaction. I put the number in here, whatever that may be, $50 into the personal account, whatever my category is. Now, we haven't got categories yet, okay, but we're not going to worry about that because we're going to run an import. Okay, so you need a category before you can have a transaction. But that's all I do every day. Add that transaction. The numbers now match. My job is done. Okay. So back to accounts, because we also have savings accounts. So maybe we have some savings. Maybe we try to save a little bit each month for an emergency fund. That's a nice idea. Again, this is one of those that I haven't, when I was in that hole, I wasn't thinking about savings, but I want the tool to give you all of the things that you want. So if you've got savings accounts, we've got savings accounts on here. Okay, simple as that. Yeah, we want a credit card account. Yeah. Oops. This is a debt account. It's a credit card. It's with current balance, credit limit, because always maxed, aren't they? Interest rate 18%. Done. Now we've got a credit card account. Okay, so you can have in here up to 10 different accounts, and you will put your accounts in there. Like I say, every morning I'm looking at this number here Does this number match what's in the bank? If it does, then everything's fine. I'm in sync, job's done. If not, get the transactions, add the transaction, come back, check that number matches that number. If it does, awesome. Yeah, move on. And this process takes me 3 minutes a day. So, like I say, what we want to do now is, this is very, very little data. Now, we don't want to go through, create all of our categories manually, and then go through and add all of the transactions one by one. That's ridiculous. It's going to take forever. So you can go to your bank and you can get a CSV from the bank. Okay. Now this might look scary because it's a spreadsheet, but it's really simple. Right. I'll show you what I'm doing. Let me take that filter off. Okay. So this is Google Sheets. Everybody can have Google Sheets. It's free. Okay. So I've downloaded this from the bank. I've picked my dates. I've gone through. You'll see that this is going into the future because it's for the demo. But ultimately, you download your sheet and it looks something like this. Each one will be slightly different depending on what the bank is. But ultimately, you're going to have a payee. You're going to have some particulars. You're going to have a reference. Right now, you need to have a category for solvent. So if you've been really good with your particulars, this is a good example for particulars because it's been really good. Yeah, so it's got salary, shopping, credit card payment, food delivery, that kind of thing. If you haven't been good at that, and I'm hopeless at it myself, right? What I had to do, I came in here and I selected the top line and I went data and I went create a filter, right? And then what I did is I clicked the filter, this little triangle button here, and I went sort A to Z on payee, right? The reason that I did that is because now all my payees are together. So you can see Afterpay is a debt payment. AliExpress is shopping. Amazon is shopping. ANZ Personal, this is a loan. Apple, this is a subscription. This is coffee. Okay, fuel, coffee. Yeah. So you can see that all of these are in place. So what I can do is I can go here and I can go debt, right? Now I don't want to spend too much time. If I click that cell and I hover over here, it turns to a cross. When it's turned to a cross, I can drag that down to there. Yeah. So then we've got here, look, we've got shopping. Shopping. Yeah. Hover over the shopping, over the corner, turns to a cross, drop it down. There's all my shopping done. Yeah. And I can do that for the whole sheet. Yeah. Coffee. This is a long one. And what I'm doing is as I'm going through here, I can go, wow, look, there's a lot of coffee there. Coffee is very important. How are we doing for coffee? Yeah. So I'm going to just bank that in my mind, but I'm going to move on. Yeah. So you go through and you'll do the sheet. It does not take long. Oh, look, there's a whole heap more coffee there. No, coffee. Yeah. Coffee. Right. Anyhow. So I go through and now I've got a category column. So I'll call that category. Now in Google Sheets, I'm going to go File, Download, and I'm going to go comma separated values. Okay. Comma separated values. And then that's going to download the file for me. Right. It's as simple as that. So quick recap, added a filter through data, create a filter. It says remove now because I've already created it, but create a filter is right here. Go to payee, this number here, sort A to Z. That groups all of your payees together. You can give them a rough category. Don't worry about making this perfect. The idea is let's get the information into the system. If you get it into the system and you realize it's wrong, it's very easy to change it from in there. Right? You want a ballpark to make sure that you're in the right vicinity here. Yeah, that's all you're looking to do. We'll change it in the system later if we need to. Once we've got the category payment, we can then file, download CSV. That saves that file to the computer, and we can now go back to Solvent. Right. So we're in Solvent. and we're going to go to import. Right? Upload CSV file. Well, that's what we've just created. So let's go select. And if we go to downloads, that will just be right there. Okay. Open that. Processes the file. Now we're going to map our columns. So this is where it doesn't matter what bank you're with. Each one will look slightly different, but there's you map it in here. Okay, so date column. There's a date. Column number 1. Yeah, that's fine. Right, description column, particulars. I don't want that to be particulars. I want that to be payee. Description, who am I paying? Click that on there. Now, if your bank statement has credit in one column and debit in another column, then you click on this button here and it will give you two different buttons to match. But mine doesn't. Mine has a single one. My amount column is my amount. So I'm going to go click amount. I'm going to change my date format to match because the date here is DDMMYYY. Okay, so I'll match that there. And then the category column, this is going to be either the one that you've just created. This has been good for particulars because it's an example. Okay. And this is just to say that a negative number equals an expense and a positive number equals an outcome. If I click that, it's going to give me credit and debit. Yeah. So we can do that. Right. Let's take that off. Right. Now what I can do, I can save that rule. And this is the personal account. So this is ANZ. So if I've saved ANZ, if my savings account happens to be with ANZ as well, or one of my debt accounts becomes ANZ, then I can load this saved rule and it's going to remember where all of my settings go. Okay, so this screen basically map your spreadsheet to the system so that we can run the import, get everything in place. Right, preview import. Now it's going to show me what it's going to import. Didn't click it properly. Right, it's going to create all these categories for me. If I already had categories in the system, these are going to be mapped, but that's okay. Most important thing here, import into account. Okay, I've got to choose the account that I want it to go into. So I'm going to import this into the personal account. Now this button becomes active. Okay, it's only 46 transactions. Okay, that doesn't seem right, but okay. So you're going to import. This is this that bug again? This is that bug. Particulars. Category column. Amount, that's why. Got my amount wrong. Amount goes to there. So problem with the import, go back, check your mapping, make sure that's okay. Let's go back to preview import. Still got the permanent. That's better. 352 transactions. I thought 46 seemed a small number. Right, so now we're doing 356. Run that. Okay, that's completed. It's imported 352. It hasn't skipped any rows. The net impact, that means I've got $3,783 more coming in than what I had going out. Okay, so now I can either import again or I can view my transactions. Okay, right. If you get to this screen and it's blank, you've got no transactions on here, don't panic, right? It defaults to this month, right? So what you'll be able to do is change that to all time, and then that's going to give you all of your transactions. See how those numbers change there? And it'll just mean that you've got nothing into this month. That's all it is. You might have transactions there, but if you don't, that's the first thing to check. Don't panic. The transactions are there. Okay. So we can now look to filter. So, you know, we said that we had a lot of coffee. How are we doing with coffee? Let's go all categories. There's my coffee. I can click that. All time, none. How has that happened? All time, yeah, all types. Expense. Okay. Personal account. No. We saw coffee. What happened? Is there a bug with the filters? Okay. So I'd love to know what's gone wrong with coffee. I'm going to investigate that later. But we've got a filter on here. So the filter's not matching for whatever reason. Groceries, all time, no income. But I have spent $2,479.15 on groceries. And I can play around and I can find that. Yeah. Like I say, if you found something that is in the wrong category, it's very easy to come into the button on the end. You just go into the transaction, you go edit, and you can change your category right here. You can make that fuel, right? Description is countdown. The vendor or the payee will be fine too. Right? That's now gone into the fuel category. So like I said, don't spend too much time on the spreadsheet with this. Once you've got it into the system, it's very easy to play around with it and to do it from there. And that's how to import this data into your account. It's how to get things in there quickly. Okay. So what we're going to do, quick refresh, right? We went to accounts, and the first thing we did was we added an account. Right? Click add the account. We give it a name, choose the account type, whatever that may be. These shouldn't be here. I'm going to hide these. This is, you choose the type of account it is, give it a category, investment, loan, credit card, savings, checking. Yeah, you should only have these three really, maybe those four. Yeah, investment shouldn't be there. You don't want to be worrying about investment at this stage. So we add the account. Once we add the account, we can add transactions. Yeah, but before we can add a transaction, we have to have category to put it into. So if you're doing this one by one, which I don't recommend, but if you're doing it one by one, you would add your category first, color code it. Is it an expense? Is it income? Is it both? Is it an essential expense? Do we want to set a monthly limit on it? Anything like that? This is for your spending plan that will come later. Okay, but you need a category. So an account is at the base level, then the account has different categories, and then we add transactions into those categories. Yeah, that's the hierarchy. So I don't recommend adding categories. I recommend you go to the import, you upload your CSV file. Yeah. When you upload CSV, you're going to map all of your things on here. Make sure that these numbers are correct. Yeah, so we've got account, description has got particulars, that wants to be payee. Or of course we can load our saved rule, which does all that on there. This rule was wrong because this changed. Yeah, but you know, you saw how that updated. My dates are now right. My category column is my particulars. I'll come along here, we'll go preview. Click preview, we click import into account, personal account. Okay. Now, 352 duplicates found. Okay, so it's not going to, the system's going to recognize that you've already imported this one. It's not going to do that. Yeah, I can skip duplicate transactions. If I untick that, then it's going to upload the in fact, it's not, that's cosmetic, right? Okay, so it recognizes duplicate transactions. It's not going to put them in again, right? Which is a good thing. But you can see how this is now categorized because it recognizes that these categories have already been created. Yeah, coffee, there's the issue with the coffee. For some reason, it's a different thing. All right, but If anything goes wrong at this point, you import your transactions. If anything goes wrong, go back to mapping and make sure that you've got the right, these things are mapped properly. Yeah, date column, is that my date? Yes. My payee description column, payee, right? That's going to go into there, right? Yeah. Amount, right? The amount goes there. Check the date format, all right? And that's solvent. If you get stuck, you need support, you can come on here. Whatever this may be. Money. Yeah, okay. That's to get in touch with us. You want to other. Yeah, that problem. Now there's more. What is it? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then what do you want? Do you want a one-on-one call? That might be that might be via Zoom, might be on the phone, whatever we want. Email resources and tips. Or you want to stay on your own for now? Yeah. Whatever it is that you want, and then you would submit. Yeah. Email me. Submit. Okay. That's going to go through. Then you'll get an email. Okay. So that's just need support. That's up there. Your feedback. If you want to tell me something that's wrong with the system, if something's gone wrong, feature request, a usability issue, whatever that may be, send that. Submit the feedback. I check every one. It comes directly to me. I will check them all. And that's solvent. Okay. So quick walk through the rest of the dashboard. We've done the import. We talked about the timesheet. This is your timer. Okay. Start the timer. That then goes. I can add a comment onto here. This is morning shift, whatever that comment has to be. Yeah. We can stop the timer. Yeah. At the end of the week, we generate the timesheet. It comes on here. There's my Saturday morning, the morning shift. I can then download that as a spreadsheet, download that as a PDF, or I can email that to my bear lady. So that's what we did there. We've got time blocks. Okay. Time blocks. This is for Kanban board, time management. What is it that we want to do? How much time do we want to spend on it? Once again, spending time needs to be conscious as well. So we've got time blocks. We've got a calendar. This will integrate with Google. Okay, we can integrate Google. Outlook will come shortly. But to get there, you're going to settings, you're going to integrations, and you're going to connect Google Calendar. Okay, if you connect Google Calendar, that will go through and that will link up with what it is that you're doing. Yeah. In here, your privacy, this is where you go and get hold of all your data. You can export your data from here. If at any time you want to delete your account for whatever reason, you do that there. Once you've done that, we cannot get your information back. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. This is the only place that you can. This is the only place that you can upgrade. The free plan will always be free, and you know that's that. In here, the goals accounts. You can create goals in here. And these are like vision boards. You can create as many vision boards as you want. Yeah. But you can, it says here, link to a savings account. Okay. You can link one account. Okay. And then what that's going to do is that's going to update that in real time. And you only want one because that's what you don't want to be focusing on goals too much. It's good to have something positive to focus on. So you can create the one. But when every time you add transactions into this savings account here, then that will automatically update your goal. It'll give you progress. It'll help you stay on track. Yeah, but add your images and everything in there. Okay. So we'll get to spending plan and the debt analysis. We'll do those in future videos, but they are there. You can see on here. Here's the snowball. The problem, if you're seeing this, the reason that that's an issue is because we haven't got a edit in here. What's my minimum payment? I need to put a minimum payment in here for that to work. So I'm going to put $250 in there. And now this can calculate how much it is. Yeah, so now I'm going to be debt free in 24 months. Well, that's great. What happens if I get I get a side hustle that starts generating me $500 a month that I can pay off my credit card? You can see this number has now changed. I'm now debt free in 8 months. Oh yeah. What if I made that $1,500 a month? Yeah, once again, that changes. August 26. I'm now debt free in 3 months. Yeah. And then you can compare the two. Well, what about the snowball and the avalanche? So the snowball, where I pay the smallest amount first, the avalanche, where I pay the highest interest rate. Which one's better for me? It depends on the current situation. And sometimes, it's sometimes it's avalanche, sometimes it's debt. This is about the same because there's only one account. Yeah, so I'm only paying off one account, so it is the same. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. But the system will make a recommendation based on that. Yeah, what if? Try a custom amount. So if I put $500 in here, I can play around with the different things. Yeah, and how to get out of debt quicker. Yeah, because that's the thing that we want to be focused on. Let's sort this out. Let's get all of this gone. Here we go. We can set the plan. We can put it into our spending plan. The debt payment comes off in there, and this is how the system can help us reach our goals. There's work involved. This is not something that happens by osmosis. It's not going to just be done for us. If I want to make changes in my life, then I need to do something about that. I need to take different actions. If I want to change my results, I take different actions. If I want to change my actions, I've got to change the way I feel about taking those actions. And that the way that I change the way that I feel about those actions is I change the way that I think. Awareness helps me to be able to change the way I think because I get to see things as they are. And that's what Solvent's all about. It's about behavioral change. We're not for this system is not for everybody. We're not here for the mass market. We're looking for the early adopters. We're looking for those people that are ready to make a change in their lives and are willing to put the work in. And like I said, this whole thing takes me 3 minutes a day on a Saturday on my restart. I can then start and go and look at my spending plan. I can make sure that am I still on track? What's going on here? I can go and get into the numbers and I can spend a bit more time once a week checking to make sure my strategy's right, checking to make sure I'm still on track. And then Solvent is about helping me to keep the daily discipline with the transactions, keep that up to date. And by doing that every day, checking in, making sure that that account matches that account, that enables behavioral change to happen. I become aware of what's going on. When I become aware, my thinking changes. When my thinking changes, I feel more empowered, because I know exactly what it is. The numbers haven't changed. What's changed is I know exactly what's happening. So I'm then able to take a different action. When I take a different action, my results start to change as well. So that's what Solvent does. This webinar will happen every Saturday morning, 9 o'clock New Zealand time for now. And that might change to 11 o'clock New Zealand time. We'll see. But for now, 9 o'clock New Zealand time, I'll be here every week, do the webinar. It's posted on YouTube. The replay is always available. I'm going to build this content. What we want to do, I'm going to stop sharing actually. What we want to do is create a moment in time to be able to take a pause, focus, have a look at what's going on, see it for what it is, and make a change. And that's the whole process. That's what it's about. So right now, today, I'm here. If you've got a question, you can come here any Saturday morning, ask me a question. Let's do, the day somebody's here, when I get here and they want to do something different, we don't do the webinar. We sit there and we sort out what this problem is. Let's make it dynamic. Let's make it be what it needs to be. Let's make sure that we're helping as many people as that we can. So if you want some one-on-one time, pop along Saturday morning, 9 o'clock New Zealand time. I'll be here. We can sit and troubleshoot your issue one-on-one right there, and then we'll go through the system and do it. Okay, so that's Solvent. My name's Matt. Thank you very much for being here, and I will see you on the flip side. Okay.